You started with kindness, not the shallow kind people perform for applause, but the real kind, the kind that costs you pieces of yourself. You believed goodness could be contagious, that patience could heal cruelty. You gave chances like they were currency and smiled even when you were bleeding. But kindness in a cruel world is often mistaken for weakness, and weakness invites wolves. They came smiling, of course. They always do. They called you pure, gentle, irreplaceable. And you believed them because your heart was built on honesty, not strategy. You couldn't imagine someone loving the light only to smother it later. But that's the first lesson. The world doesn't hate goodness, it tests it until it breaks. They took from you in small, polite ways at first. A favor here, a compromise there, an apology you didn't owe. Each time you said yes, thinking it was love, each time they learned you would bend. And the day came when bending became breaking, and breaking became expected. Kindness turned into servitude disguised as loyalty. When you finally said no, they called you ungrateful. Isn't it strange? The same people who feasted on your generosity are the first to starve when you stop feeding them. That's when they start rewriting history, painting your boundaries as betrayal, your silence as arrogance, your distance as cruelty. But deep down, they know what really changed. You stopped bleeding for people who never learned how to heal you. You learned the quiet horror of being the good one. Because the good one is always expected to understand, to forgive, to stay. And when you finally refuse, they act like you've committed a crime. But all you did was wake up. That's when you realize why villains exist, not because kindness fails, but because it's exploited. Villains are born in the aftermath of mercy. They come from the same hearts that once believed in everyone. They rise when compassion becomes a wound that won't close. You didn't want vengeance, you wanted balance. But when peace is treated like weakness, balance can only be restored through power. That's when the smile changes. That's when the laughter turns cold. You didn't turn dark overnight. You decayed quietly. Every broken promise, every manipulation, every dismissal peeled something off you until only the steel remained, and people call that change. It's not change, it's revelation. They never met the real you before. They met the version still trying to please them. Now you speak less, and they call you distant. You care less, and they call you cruel. But you're not cruel, you're careful. You've learned that empathy without boundaries becomes self-destruction. You no longer hand out your softness like a free sample to people who only know how to consume. They say you've become cold, but that's because warmth has rules now. Your fire isn't for lighting other people's chaos anymore. It's for keeping yourself alive when the room goes dark. That's the secret no one tells you. Villains don't burn the world for fun. They burn it to see who survives the truth. And so you walk differently now. You don't apologize for protecting your peace. You don't explain your silence. You simply exist calm, unreadable, untouchable. They call it ego, but it's really evolution. You were kind once. Then they showed you why villains exist. And the cruelest part? You don't even hate them for it. You thank them. Because every scar they gave you became the armor they can't pierce anymore. People still tell stories about the old you. They romanticize your innocence, speak of your softness like it was a flaw to be pitied, not a gift that kept them warm. They say they miss that version, but what they really miss is how easy it was to take advantage of someone who hadn't yet learned the price of empathy. They whisper that you changed, and they're right, you did. Change is what happens when you outgrow your own suffering. You stopped mistaking endurance for love. You stopped applauding those who only clapped when you bled. You realized that kindness without self-respect is just servitude dressed in virtue. Now your presence feels different. The same people who once drained you now call you intimidating. They confuse peace with power, and they're not wrong. Peace is power, the kind that doesn't need noise or validation. It's the quiet confidence that you owe no one an explanation for surviving. They try to provoke you back into your old role, the one who forgives too easily, who softens at the first apology. But the stage is empty now. The play is over. You've retired from the performance of being endlessly understanding. You're not cruel. You're simply uninterested in auditioning for their chaos again. You learned the art of selective silence. You don't argue. You observe. You don't beg. You withdraw. You don't threaten. You let consequence speak. Because the strongest statement a healed soul can make is indifference, and nothing unnerves the guilty more than someone who no longer needs closure. They call your distance punishment, but it's not. It's peace. You finally understand that walking away isn't revenge, it's hygiene. Some energies contaminate everything they touch, and the kindest thing you can do for them and yourself is to leave them alone with their reflection. You've seen what happens when light tries to heal rot. It only dims, so you stop trying. That decision was your rebirth. They call it bitterness because they've never tasted self-respect. But you know the flavor. It's silence that doesn't ache, calm that doesn't need proof, laughter that doesn't seek witnesses. They still test your edges, looking for the softness they remember. And sometimes you let them. Not because you're weak, but because you've learned control. You can show mercy now without offering yourself as sacrifice. That's what true transformation looks like, discipline dressed as detachment. You became what they feared, ungoverned, unapologetic, serene. You stopped explaining your darkness because the light that survived it speaks louder. Every calm breath you take is an act of rebellion against the chaos that tried to claim you. And perhaps that's the final lesson. They built their comfort on the assumption that kindness would always answer the call. But kindness evolved. It grew teeth. It learned how to smile while walking away. You were kind until they showed you why villains exist. And now the villain they created is the only one capable of loving peace enough to protect it. You stopped waiting for apologies that would never arrive. That's when real strength began. Forgiveness no longer meant welcoming them back. It meant releasing yourself from the gravity of their guilt. You learned that closure isn't something they give, it's something you take when you finally stop explaining pain to those who caused it. They still think you hold grudges, but you don't. You hold lessons. Grudges rot, lessons refine. Every betrayal became instruction. Every heartbreak a syllabus on self-respect. You graduated quietly, left the classroom burning, and never looked back. You no longer chase fairness in unfair people. You let life handle the mathematics of karma. The universe has a perfect memory. It keeps its own accounts. You simply walk lighter, knowing the balance sheet will close without your signature. They wanted you reactive, emotional, predictable. Instead, you became still. Stillness frightens manipulators because they can't steer what doesn't move. You discovered that peace isn't the absence of chaos, it's mastery over reaction. Now they throw storms at you, and you answer with weather they can't change. You understand now that compassion isn't charity, it's choice. You choose who gets it. You choose when to give, when to protect, when to disappear. That's what unnerves them most. Kindness with boundaries looks like cruelty to those who benefited from your lack of them. They mistake your silence for weakness again, not realizing silence is how kings and ghosts rule the same space. You learn that the loudest revenge is progress. It echoes longest when it's quiet. While they drown in noise, you build in calm. They think you stopped caring about people. You didn't, you just started caring correctly. You now reserve your energy for those who water you, not those who drain you. It's not cynicism, it's precision. You became selective because not everyone deserves to experience your peace. They crave your reaction because reaction used to mean relevance. But you're not their mirror anymore. You stopped reflecting their chaos back at them, and now they can't find themselves. You became a blank page, and that terrifies the author of lies. You've outgrown the theater of confrontation. You no longer defend your worth in rooms that profit from your doubt. You smile, you leave, you let silence ruin them at their own pace. That's evolution learning to fight only the battles that build you. And now, when they speak your name, it trembles. Not out of fear, but out of recognition. They know they met something incorruptible. You were kind, and they mistook it for softness. Now they understand. Kindness was just the mask of a soul disciplined enough to destroy nothing and strong enough to survive everything. When you finally stopped chasing the noise, the world went silent in the best possible way. You learned that peace doesn't arrive like a storm, it arrives like a slow exhale after years of holding your breath. While they were still counting the damage, you were learning how to breathe again. The quiet they once mocked became the kingdom they could never rule. They thought peace was a rumor, something you said to sound strong. They didn't believe you could find it without them. Yet there you were, no revenge, no spectacle, just stillness. And stillness frightened them. Because for people addicted to chaos, calmness looks like power they can't interrupt. They keep replaying your departure like a crime scene, looking for clues that you might return. But peace has no reverse gear. You didn't leave to win, you left to stop bleeding. They never learned the difference between giving up and letting go. You did. That's why you're free and they're still bleeding in the same spot where you walked away. They called your silence heartless, but silence was mercy. You could have shouted the truth, exposed every hidden wound, but you chose quiet. Because truth spoken to the deaf is wasted, and you were done performing autopsies on love that died long before you buried it. Now they carry the weight you once carried for them. You gave it back without ceremony. Every unsaid apology, every unreturned call, every empty promise, all of it found its way home to them. That's the part they can't stand. Not that you're gone, but that the pain finally belongs to the right owner. They watch you smile now and tell themselves it's fake, because admitting it's real would mean accepting that peace can exist without their permission. They confuse your stillness with suppression, but peace isn't suppression, it's survival in its final form. You stopped reacting, and that's when they started unraveling. They thought they'd moved on faster, but healing built on denial collapses quietly. You can almost hear it, the crack in their laughter, the hesitation in their joy. You became their measurement for peace, and every time they fail to find it, they curse your name for proving it exists. They still tell the story like they were the strong ones. But strength isn't staying. It's knowing when staying becomes decay. You learn to leave without bitterness, and that's the part they'll never forgive. Bitterness would have meant you still cared. Indifference is the real revenge. They wake up in the same chaos you once drowned in. Every argument, every fake smile, every restless night, it's theirs now. You traded noise for quiet, and the exchange rate was liberation. They traded comfort for control and ended up prisoners of their own habits. And maybe that's the cruelest piece of all, knowing you never had to destroy them, you just had to stop saving them. The moment you walked away, the storm lost its center, and they've been chasing pieces of it ever since. You didn't win by fighting. You won by ending the war. They wake each morning hoping the ache has dulled, but pain never fades when it's fed. They keep feeding it, replaying your name, your silence, your exit. The same questions echo in their heads. How did you let go so easily? But you didn't let go easily, you just let go completely. And completeness terrifies those who live in half measures. They once believed they owned the ending. They thought they could script your collapse, narrate your regrets. Instead, the story kept writing itself without them, and every new page erased a little more of their control. That's the real heartbreak. Discovering the villain of your story isn't you, it's their inability to move on. They still tell themselves that peace is temporary, that you'll come back when the loneliness sets in. But loneliness doesn't live where truth resides. You've made friends with solitude. They still wrestle with it like a shadow that bites. You learn that silence isn't empty, it's full of clarity. They learn that noise isn't comfort, it's distraction with a heartbeat. They hide their grief behind sarcasm. You can hear it in the laughter that breaks too quickly, in the words said too loudly. They call you cold to avoid calling themselves careless. The labels soothe them. They wrap them like bandages, even though the wound underneath keeps reopening every time your name is mentioned. They check your peace the way people check a rival's fortune, hoping it's exaggerated. They look for cracks, for proof that you're pretending. But real peace doesn't perform, it just is. And the more they look for evidence of pain, the more their own reflection accuses them. They ask mutual friends about you in casual tones, trying to sound detached, but curiosity betrays them. Every update is a blade because you're still standing, still calm, still becoming. They thought your world would shrink without them. Instead, it expanded beyond the horizon of their understanding. They used to define you by your reactions. Every sigh, every tear, every explanation kept them relevant. Now there's nothing left to read. You turn the page, and they're still memorizing the old chapter as if devotion can resurrect it. That's the quiet tragedy of control. It evaporates the moment you stop engaging. They don't know what to do with the guilt. It hangs in the room like static. They try to drown it in distractions. New faces, half-hearted laughter, but guilt doesn't drown. It floats. And every surface reminds them of what they did to earn this emptiness. You don't wish them harm. You don't wish them anything. That neutrality is what breaks them most. Because hatred would mean you still care enough to burn, and you've already burned enough for both of you. You left them with silence, and silence has sharper teeth than vengeance ever could. And so they suffer in echoes while you sleep in peace. Their chaos became the monument to your leaving, a loop they can't escape. They still think you'll return to fix what's left, not realizing the cure they crave is the very distance they resented. You didn't destroy them. You simply stopped dying for them. They still whisper your name like it's forbidden, as if speaking it too loudly might summon what they lost. But names only have power when they're connected to presence, and you're not there anymore. You've become myth, not memory. A story they tell themselves to explain why everything still feels unfinished. They once believed you couldn't survive without their validation. They thought your silence was surrender. But silence became your weapon, didn't it? You turned absence into an empire. Every day you didn't speak, you reclaimed a piece of your soul they thought they owned. And now they're the ones craving your attention like oxygen. They wonder how you sleep so easily. They lie awake, replaying every moment, every word, every chance they ruined. But you sleep because you made peace with the ending. They don't sleep because they still argue with the truth. The truth that peace never needed them. It needed you to leave. They try to imitate your calm now, copying your detachment, your stillness. But imitation can't recreate evolution. You earned your peace in fire. They want to borrow it like perfume. They wear the illusion of indifference while choking on what it really costs. They say you changed. They say you became cold. But you didn't freeze. You healed. You stopped mistaking intensity for intimacy. You stopped bleeding for those who never intended to bandage you. The world calls that coldness. I call it clarity. They still think they matter to your peace. They don't. Peace isn't a performance for witnesses. It's a private contract between you and your scars. They were just the lesson carved into the ink. You were always the author, even when they were holding the pen. Sometimes you can still feel their eyes on you, watching, judging, wishing. But the irony is poetic. They created the version of you they now envy. Every lie, every betrayal, every dismissal, it all forged you. You didn't escape them, you evolved because of them. That's the kind of revenge they'll never understand. They live in the same noise you left behind. The same arguments, the same facades, the same games. It's their inheritance now. You traded all of it for silence, and silence rewarded you with wisdom. You became the proof that healing isn't about winning, it's about disappearing so completely that your peace becomes the punishment. They thought you'd hate them forever. But hate is still a kind of tether, and you cut every rope. They're still waiting for a reaction, a spark, a sign that you still care. But nothing burns where peace has settled. You became untouchable not because you hardened, but because you outgrew the battlefield. And now, every time they see you smiling, calm, distant, they see their own reflection in reverse. They see what they could have been if they hadn't played the villain in your story. They see freedom disguised as the one they once broke. And maybe that's the cruelest truth of all. You didn't destroy them. You simply proved they were never strong enough to keep you. They're questioning your love now not because you stopped caring, but because you never came back to prove you still did. They can't understand that walking away wasn't weakness, it was strength finally waking up. You didn't leave to hurt them. You left because you outgrew the version of yourself that kept begging to be understood. They mistake your peace for indifference. They tell themselves you moved on too easily, that you never cared as much as you said. But they forget you cared enough to stay long after it stopped making sense. You cared enough to try when everything in you was breaking, and when you finally walked away, it wasn't because you stopped loving, it was because you started respecting yourself. Now they look for signs of you in other people. They chase conversations that sound like yours, attention that feels like yours, chaos that distracts from your absence. But nothing compares, and that's what haunts them. You didn't just leave their life, you left an echo they can't quiet. They wanted you to crawl back, to beg, to explain. That's how they measured love, through suffering, through submission. But you learned something far colder. Real love doesn't beg to stay where it's no longer welcome. Real love sometimes means walking away not to punish, but to preserve. Now they call you heartless, distant, cold. But if cold means not returning to the fire that burned you, then cold is survival. You didn't stop loving them, you just stopped destroying yourself to prove it. And what kills them most is that you never said goodbye with drama or speeches. You just left and never came back. No closure, no explanation, just silence, the kind that says, I loved you once, but I love my peace more. They say you changed, that you became distant, hard to reach, impossible to read, but they never talk about what forced the change. They never mention how every piece of softness you gave them was met with indifference. They didn't kill your love, they starved it. And when love starves long enough, it turns into something colder. They remember the day you left, but not the nights that led to it. The quiet ones where you stayed up trying to understand what more you could do. The apologies you rehearsed for things that weren't your fault. The way you swallowed your own feelings just to keep the peace. That's what they forget, the erosion that came before the ending. Now they talk about you like a ghost that used to live among them. They say your name with caution, as if it might still carry emotion. But you left nothing for them to hold on to. You didn't just walk away, you took the version of you that loved them and buried it under your growth. They don't realize that leaving wasn't an act of cruelty. It was mercy. Mercy for the both of you. Because staying would have meant breaking yourself just to keep something half alive. And you've broken yourself enough times for people who mistook that pain for loyalty. They'll tell everyone you went cold overnight, that you stopped caring, that you became distant out of nowhere. But you know the truth, distance doesn't happen in a moment. It builds, slowly, silently. It's the result of 1,000 disappointments disguised as, I'm fine. They think you forgot them, but you didn't. You just stopped chasing the same conversations that always ended in confusion. You stopped explaining feelings to people who only listened to respond. Forgetting them wasn't the goal, freeing yourself was. They're haunted by the idea that you never came back, because deep down they thought you always would. You'd done it before, forgiven too easily, returned too soon. They thought you'd break your own heart just to fix theirs again. But this time you didn't. This time you meant it. They check your silence for signs of regret, hoping to find guilt hidden between your peace, but your silence isn't guilt, it's growth. It's the sound of someone who finally realized they don't owe closure to the ones who caused the damage. They'll tell others that you moved on quickly, that you replaced them. But how can you replace something you already grieved while it was still alive? You didn't move on quickly, you just healed quietly. You learned that some people are lessons, not losses. They mistake your calm for arrogance. They think you're proud of leaving, but you're not proud, you're just done. There's a difference between ego and exhaustion. You didn't walk away because you wanted to win. You walked away because you were tired of losing yourself. They romanticize your distance now. They talk about how mysterious you've become. But what they call mystery is just healing. What they call change is just clarity. They loved you when you were soft enough to be stepped on. Now they can't recognize the strength that stood back up. They imagine you're out there, happy without them, and it stings. Because the one who once needed them to feel whole is now complete without their validation. They don't know how to live with that your silence holds more power than your words ever did. They used to think love was measured by how many times you'd return. They used to think walking away meant you didn't care. But now they see sometimes the most painful proof of love is knowing when to stop giving it. They'll say they miss the old you. But the old you was built on pleasing people who never noticed the effort. The old you broke their own heart trying to make others comfortable. That version died the day you realized peace feels better than being understood. They'll rewrite the story, of course. They'll make themselves the victim, the one who tried, the one who cared. That's what people do when the truth doesn't fit their narrative. But you don't need to correct them. You've outgrown the need to be right, you just needed to be free. They'll wonder why it doesn't hurt you anymore. They'll confuse acceptance for apathy. But healing doesn't erase the pain, it just teaches you how to stop revisiting it. You still remember, but you no longer return. They'll try to reach you someday, maybe with nostalgia, maybe with guilt, but you won't respond the same way, because once you learn to live in peace, chaos stops feeling like home. And they are chaos dressed as comfort. They'll call you heartless for not coming back, but you'll know better. Heartless would have been staying just to prove you could. Real love sometimes means letting go and never turning around. You didn't walk away to forget them, you walked away to remember yourself. And one day, when they finally realize what they lost, it'll be too late. Because you won't be waiting. You won't be angry either. You'll just smile, that quiet, knowing smile of someone who's seen the storm, survived it, and decided never to go back there again. And that's the cruelest truth of all, not that you left, but that you never looked back. They still search for you in the fragments you left behind, a song, a scent, a familiar phrase that lands too close to memory. They pretend not to notice when something reminds them of you, but their eyes always betray them. What they're really looking for isn't you. It's the version of themselves that existed when you still believed in them. That's what they miss, not the love, but the reflection of who they were when they had it. They thought that love meant ownership, that if someone cared deeply enough, they'd always return. But you taught them that love without freedom isn't love, it's captivity. They caged you in expectations, and when the door finally opened, they realized too late that they had been keeping the only thing that ever made their world feel alive. They tell people they've made peace with your absence, that they've grown from it, but peace doesn't tremble when your name appears. Peace doesn't scroll through old photos at 2 a.m. Peace doesn't flinch at ghosts. What they call peace is just exhaustion, the kind that comes from fighting memories that refuse to die. They once swore they understood you. They claimed to know what you felt, what you'd do next, how much you'd forgive. But people only understand you when you're predictable, and you stopped being predictable the moment you stopped returning. You became a mystery again, and mysteries cannot be controlled, only admired from a distance. And maybe that's the final twist of it all. You didn't leave to punish them, but to preserve yourself. You didn't disappear to make them miss you. You disappeared because staying would have meant vanishing in a slower, quieter way. Now, your absence walks beside them everywhere they go, whispering the line they'll never forget. You could have had forever, but you chose comfort instead. You know what really bothers them? It's not that you won. It's that you didn't ask for their permission first. They thought they buried you. They thought the silence meant surrender, but silence was your seed. And when you grew, you didn't just rise, you rose in front of them. They never imagined their own friends would become your biggest fans. The same people who once laughed with them now quote you, support you, defend you. That's not revenge, that's justice wearing a smile. They can't process it. Their pride is choking on the applause that was supposed to be theirs. Every compliment you receive is another reminder that they misjudged you. They can't stand that their own circle now mirrors your name. The conversations that used to be about your mistakes are now about your mastery. They thought they'd get to tell your story, but you took the pen back and started writing bestsellers with their silence. They call it luck, but they know it's not. You earned it. You outlasted their gossip. You outgrew their games. And now, they can't escape the reality that they created their own competition. They hate that people believe in you now. The same people who once joined in mocking you now see through the mask they were wearing all along. You became what they feared most: undeniable. Not loud, not desperate, just undeniable. They pretend not to care, but they're watching, always watching. Quietly studying your every move, trying to figure out how you became the one they used to laugh at. They tell themselves it's just a phase, but the truth is permanent, and deep down, they know it. You became the favorite in a world they thought they owned. They can't bring themselves to admit it out loud, but you haunt them. Every like, every comment, every cheer in your favor reminds them they bet against the wrong one. They thought your glow would fade when they stopped talking about you, but it only got brighter because your light never came from their approval. They hate that you did it without them, that you built without their help, healed without their apology, and shined without their validation. Their jealousy isn't about your success. It's about the audience that used to be theirs and now belongs to you. They scroll past your wins pretending not to care, but their pulse betrays them. They screenshot, they replay, they compare. They're addicted to the proof that you're thriving. They can't understand how you stayed calm through it all, how you didn't clap back, didn't crumble, didn't explain. That silence is what destroyed them. They expected revenge. You gave them evolution. You turned pain into presence. You stopped reacting, and that's when you started winning. They gossip about you to people who no longer agree with them. Their words fall flat, and it kills them because they used to control the narrative, and now the narrative controls them. They want to hate you, but every attempt only exposes their envy. Hate requires energy, and they're running out of it trying to keep up with your peace. They still think you're playing the same game, but you're not even in the arena anymore. You left the battlefield while they keep swinging at ghosts. Their ego won't let them say it, but they miss when you needed them. They miss the power they had when your world still revolved around them. They'll disguise jealousy as critique, call you overrated, call you lucky, call you fake. But truth doesn't need defense. It just is. You were never supposed to be the one they applauded. You were supposed to stay beneath them, in their comfort zone, under their control. You ruined the script by succeeding. They tried to destroy your reputation, and all they did was advertise your name. Their slander became your marketing. Their mockery became your momentum. You didn't steal their friends, they just saw something real in you. People are drawn to honesty, and you, for once, stopped pretending. Now, they see you everywhere in places they thought you'd never reach. Their envy has no off switch. It follows them even in silence. They talk about peace, but they sleep next to jealousy. They try to laugh, but every joke tastes bitter. You're not their enemy. You're their reminder that everything they tried to destroy only evolved. They're obsessed with the version of you they created in their minds, the broken one, the weak one, the lost one. But that version doesn't exist anymore. You didn't just rise, you replaced. Their approval, their influence, their control, all gone. They can't erase you because erasing you would mean admitting you mattered. So they pretend. Pretend not to notice, not to care, not to envy. But pretending is exhausting, isn't it? They'll keep talking about you long after you've stopped thinking about them. That's how you know you've won, when your silence makes more noise than their gossip. They'll twist your peace into arrogance. They'll call your confidence ego, because small minds always mistake growth for threat. You became what they could never fake: consistent. You didn't just survive the storm, you became it. They thought they ended your chapter, but you turned the page, and somehow you're still the plot. Their jealousy isn't loud, it's quiet, lingering, the kind that shows up in half-hearted smiles and nervous laughs. They'll try to downplay your success in public and secretly study you in private. They hate that the blueprint they mocked became the one they follow. Their friends, your fans, aren't traitors. They're witnesses. Witnesses to the moment truth finally outweighed manipulation. And one day, when the noise dies and the masks drop, they'll finally understand. They didn't lose their friends to you, they lost them to the truth. They'll tell everyone you changed, as if change is a crime. They'll whisper that you're different, as if that wasn't the point all along. Growth terrifies the ones who stayed the same. They don't miss you, they miss the control. They miss being able to predict your pain, your silence, your next move. Now, they can't, and that uncertainty keeps them awake. Every time you walk into a room, they feel it, that quiet dominance that doesn't need words. You don't demand attention anymore. It just arrives, like gravity. They can't recreate what you have now, because what you have isn't performance, it's evolution. And evolution can't be faked. It has to be earned through fire. You became their contradiction, the one they said would never make it, yet the one their own friends now admire. You're proof that karma doesn't knock, it watches. They're still playing for validation, while you've become validation itself. You don't chase applause anymore. You attract loyalty without asking. And the most ironic part? They built this version of you. Every wound, every lie, every betrayal, that was their contribution. You are their greatest creation and their greatest regret. They thought your silence was weakness, but it was discipline. They never realized that the loudest revenge is peace, the kind that unsettles, the kind that doesn't need proof. You mastered stillness while they exhausted themselves trying to get your reaction. You stopped defending yourself, because truth doesn't argue. It simply exists, waiting for time to expose the liars. They can't stand that you healed in public without ever mentioning their names. You didn't have to drag them to the spotlight, their own actions illuminated them. The world saw, the world compared, and the world decided. Now, every time someone praises you, it's a silent indictment of them. They used to laugh because they thought they were above you, but when people realized who was truly genuine, the laughter turned into hesitation. Now, every joke they make about you echoes with insecurity. They know people are listening differently now, not to them, but for you. Your calmness hurts them more than any revenge ever could. They expected chaos, but you gave them composure. They wanted you to collapse, but you learned to stand taller in ruins than they ever did in comfort. You became the mirror they fear most, one that shows them exactly what they could have been if they hadn't chosen pettiness over purpose. They're surrounded by noise, yet starving for meaning. Meanwhile, your silence has become a frequency of power. It's not that you speak less, it's that every word you do say weighs more than all their empty noise combined. You became substance while they stayed surface. And now, they live in the shadow of the one they mocked. Every step you take forward reminds them of the step they never took. Every victory you earn burns in the space between their pride and their denial. They'll keep pretending. Of course, pretending it doesn't bother them. Pretending you don't matter. But that's the funniest part, isn't it? You became the one thing they can't stop pretending not to see.